Welcome back to our channel, devoted fans of the daytime drama that always keeps us on the edge of our seats. Today is a magnificent day to delve into the glamorous, cutthroat universe of Los Angeles fashion. We have an explosive development that will shatter the very foundation of the Forrester dynasty. Buckle up, because the landscape of haute couture is about to change forever. For decades, Eric Forrester has stood as the towering patriarch of Forrester Creations, a visionary who built an empire from the ground up with nothing but a sketchpad, an unyielding dream, and an unparalleled passion for beauty. However, the gilded halls of his legacy have recently been poisoned by a toxic atmosphere of arrogance, entitlement, and blatant nepotism. From the shadows of his sprawling estate, Eric has been silently observing the steady decay of the company's core values. He has watched, with a profoundly heavy heart and an escalating sense of horror, as the collaborative sanctuary he created has been twisted into a dictatorial regime. The patriarch is experiencing an absolute, soul-crushing disappointment. The family business is no longer a beacon of artistic expression. It has become a brutal battlefield for petty egos, and Eric knows that the rot starts at the very top of the executive ladder. At the center of this corporate decay is his own granddaughter, Steffy Forrester Finnegan. Eric has witnessed Steffy's leadership style morph into unadulterated tyranny. She has weaponized her co-CEO position, using it not to foster innovation or unity, but to settle personal vendettas and crush anyone who dares to challenge her supreme authority. Her venomous arrogance has reached a boiling point, manifesting in a reign of terror that has completely alienated the company's most dedicated talents. Steffi's elitist obsession with haute couture has blinded her to the evolving landscape of the fashion industry. She has become an authoritarian ruler, sitting upon a mahogany throne, issuing decrees that serve only to inflate her own ego while systematically destroying the creative spirits of those who genuinely care about the future of the brand. The most egregious casualties of Steffi's dictatorial regime are undeniably Zen Forrester Dominguez and Hope Logan. Eric has always been a staunch advocate for the youth demographic, recognizing that the survival of any fashion house depends on its ability to evolve and capture the next generation. Yet, Steffy, with her narrow-minded vision, has brutally marginalized Hope, indefinitely pausing the hope for the future line with a condescending sneer and a cruel dismissal. Even worse is the treatment of Zend, whose months of tireless dedication, late nights, and brilliant designs were callously tossed aside without a second thought. Eric is thoroughly disgusted by how Steffy has trampled upon their undeniable talents, treating them as disposable pawns rather than the visionary architects of the company's tomorrow. To Eric, crushing such vibrant creativity is an unforgivable sin against the very essence of Forrester Creations. Equally infuriating to the patriarch is the pathetic, spineless behavior of his son, Ridge Forrester. Where Steffy is tyrannical, Ridge is fundamentally cowardly. As a father and a co-leader, Ridge had a profound responsibility to rein in his daughter's worst impulses and maintain a balanced, equitable workplace. Instead, Ridge has consistently capitulated to Steffy's demands, demonstrating a staggering level of passivity that borders on complicity. Eric views Ridge's inability to manage personnel with anything resembling fairness or strength as a catastrophic failure of leadership. Ridge has chosen the path of least resistance, hiding behind his sketchbooks and allowing Steffy to run roughshod over the staff simply to avoid uncomfortable confrontations. This chronic weakness has shattered Eric's faith in his son's ability to protect the legacy they built together. Driven to the absolute brink by this toxic combination of Steffy's arrogance and Ridge's cowardice, Eric arrives at a devastating, agonizing realization. The empire he loves cannot survive under their stewardship. If he allows them to remain in power, Forrester Creations will inevitably collapse under the weight of its own hubris, losing its soul and its relevance in a rapidly changing world. Eric understands that desperate times require unimaginably drastic measures. He must perform a radical amputation to save the body of his life's work. It is a decision that tears at his heartstrings, pitting his profound love for his family against his sacred duty to the company. He realizes that to protect the future, he must orchestrate the ultimate betrayal of his own flesh and blood. In an unprecedented, earth-shattering move, Eric looks outside the walls of his family for a savior, turning to the one man capable of executing a flawless, ruthless corporate cleansing, Bill Spencer. The irony is as thick as the tension in the Los Angeles air. Bill Spencer, the eternal rival, the ruthless media magnate who has spent years trying to conquer the Forrester Mountain. Yet, Eric recognizes a cold, undeniable truth. Bill possesses the sheer ruthlessness, the unyielding iron will, and the financial capital required to dismantle Steffy's regime and rebuild the company's infrastructure. Bill and Katie have already been successfully utilizing Eric's designs, establishing a foundational, albeit unconventional, mutual respect. Eric knows that Bill will not hesitate to wield the axe that Eric himself is too emotionally compromised to swing. The transfer of power does not happen with a grand announcement. It occurs in absolute, chilling secrecy. In a dimly lit, private room, far away from the prying eyes of the Los Angeles paparazzi and the gossiping corridors of Forrester Creations, Eric meets with Bill Spencer. The legal documents, thick with the weight of decades of history, are laid out on the table. There is no joyous celebration, only the heavy, suffocating gravity of an empire changing hands. With a steady hand, but a grieving heart, Eric signs his name. That silent signature, the scratching of ink against parchment, marks the definitive end of an era. In that singular, quiet moment, Eric secretly transfers all of his controlling shares to Bill, fundamentally rewriting the destiny of everyone who bears the Forrester name. Ignorant of the seismic shift that has just occurred beneath their feet, the Forrester executives gather for what they believe is just another routine display of their absolute power. Inside the sprawling, luxurious CEO office, a fateful board meeting is underway. Steffy is in her element, practically glowing with a triumphant, vindictive energy. She is holding court, officially and gleefully cementing the final elimination of the hope for the future line. She speaks with the absolute certainty of an untouchable queen, entirely convinced of her supremacy and brilliance. Ridge stands nearby, nodding along in his typical, passive manner, while Brooke Logan is also present, likely calculating her own survival in this toxic ecosystem. The atmosphere is thick with Steffy's unearned victory, a monument to her unchecked hubris. Suddenly, the heavy, double doors of the executive suite swing open with a violent, echoing thud, shattering the self-congratulatory atmosphere. The room falls into a stunned, breathless silence as Bill Spencer strides across the threshold. He does not knock. He does not ask for permission. He moves with the predatory grace of a lion entering a conquered territory. Dressed impeccably, his face is a mask of cold, calculating triumph. Tucked under his arm is a thick leather portfolio containing the legal dossier that holds their collective doom. The sheer audacity of his intrusion sends a shockwave of confusion and immediate, visceral anger through Steffy and Ridge, who demand to know how he bypassed security and what he thinks he is doing in their private sanctuary. Bill does not raise his voice. He doesn't need to. The power radiating from him is absolute and suffocating. With a chilling, methodical calmness, he tosses the legal documents onto the center of the mahogany desk, right over Steffy's meticulously arranged notes. He locks eyes with the stunned executives and coldly declares that he is not a guest, nor is he an intruder. He announces, with a voice that cuts through the room like a freshly sharpened blade, that he is the new majority shareholder and the sole, undisputed owner of Forrester Creations. He explains the secret agreement, revealing that Eric Forrester himself handed over the keys to the kingdom, completely stripping them of their authority in a single, devastating stroke. The revelation hangs in the air, a suffocating blanket of disbelief. But Bill is not finished. He is here to execute Eric's will with maximum prejudice. His gaze hardens, sweeping over Steffy, Ridge, and Brooke with a look of absolute disdain. He doesn't offer them a transition period, a severance package, or a moment to process the catastrophic destruction of their realities. With a tone devoid of any empathy, Bill issues his first and final executive order to the former ruling class. "Pack your things," he commands, his voice echoing off the walls that once protected them, "and get out of my building. Immediately." It is the ultimate, inescapable humiliation, delivered with the ruthless precision that only Bill Spencer can muster. The psychological devastation that crashes down upon Steffy, Ridge, and Brooke is impossible to overstate. In the span of a few agonizing minutes, their entire universe has been violently inverted. Steffy's triumphant smirk dissolves into an expression of sheer, unadulterated horror and furious disbelief as the realization sets in that she is completely powerless. Her throne has been ripped out from under her. Ridge is paralyzed, his cowardly avoidance of conflict finally culminating in the loss of his family's legacy. He is left to grapple with the agonizing truth that his own father deemed him too weak to lead. Even Brooke, who has spent decades fighting for her place in this company, finds herself unceremoniously discarded as collateral damage in this epic corporate purge. Amidst the absolute shock and fury radiating through the CEO office, there's a profound sense of poetic justice. Steffy and Ridge believe they could rule through intimidation and exclusion, crushing the talents of those like Zend and Hope without consequence. They forgot that the true power of Forrester Creations always resided with its founder. Eric's silent, devastating maneuver is a testament to his enduring love for the art of fashion, proving that he would rather burn his own empire to the ground and hand it to a rival than watch it be destroyed from within by arrogance and mediocrity. The fall of the Forrester Empire was not brought about by an external attack, but by the righteous indignation of the man who built it. As Steffy, Ridge, and Brooke are forced to pack their belongings under the watchful, mocking eyes of Bill Spencer's security detail, a new era dawns in Los Angeles. The halls of Forrester Creations will no longer echo with Steffy's tyrannical decrees. Under Spencer's control, the landscape of haute couture is entirely rewritten. Perhaps now, the suppressed talents of Zend and Hope will finally be given the platform they deserve, nurtured by an owner who values profit and innovation over petty family politics. The story of Forrester Creations has taken its most dramatic, unprecedented turn yet, proving that in the world of fashion, the most brutal cuts don't happen with